What up? How you doing? Welcome to a Sunday. It's January 5th at 6:06 in the morning here in western Iowa. 12 degrees right now. Dew point is -3, I think. Wind chill -7. And it's not snowing. Not here. We didn't get any. But the Midwest storm is starting to crank, and there's lots of watches and warnings out for that. But let's start down in the south, because behind this storm, that cold air is going to spill south. In fact, it's already doing that. So freeze warnings up for Florida, southern Georgia, parts of the Gulf Coast of Texas, including you, Houston, and into southern Louisiana. Wind issues from the plains all the way into the southeast. And for the Pacific Northwest, we do have some winter weather advisories for the Cascades, Oregon, and Washington. That goes into northern Idaho, parts of Montana, also there into Colorado. Southern California dealing with some wind, high wind watches, and also wind advisories. So watch out for some wind there, especially if you like to sail. And then we get to the Midwest storm, which is going to be the Ohio River Valley storm, which will be the Mid-Atlantic storm. So we have winter weather advisories all the way into South Dakota through Nebraska, down into Kansas, eastern Colorado, even the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas for a little bit of snow, and also northern Oklahoma. But the really bad stuff, winter storm warnings stretching from Kansas, extreme southern Nebraska, extreme southern Iowa, into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, into Maryland, Delaware, and even southern New Jersey. And then we have a blizzard warning now from much of Kansas into Missouri. And there you see the ice storm warning. This is going to be really bad for parts of Missouri into southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and getting into Kentucky. We do see some winter weather advisories also poking down into Tennessee, maybe even near Nashville as well. All right, 48-hour precipitation looks like this, and it's a swath from Kansas to Maryland over the next 2 days. Liquid equivalent, we're talking 1.5 to 2 inches in some areas, even a little greater in northern Kentucky. A little bit of rain too, Oregon coasts, Washington coast, Northern California coast. But a lot of this is snow, as you can imagine. The mountains of the west, there's your smiley face, Idaho. Looks even some snow there in Utah and Colorado. But the big stuff, Kansas, foot and a half, approaching 20 inches, going into Missouri. The snow amounts lighten up as you head a little further to the east, through Indiana, Ohio, for example. We're looking at maybe 12 inches, 10 to 12. That's still quite a bit. And more for parts of Ohio into West Virginia, and that goes all the way to the coast. Also, not to be left out, some very heavy lake effect snows off of Lake Ontario, but in the Buffalo area, Camden, New York, just like 4 feet of snow with more on the way. So the snow jets also off of the eastern Great Lakes. Ice, too much ice, 1/2 inch or more, Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, into Kentucky. That's just going to do extensive tree damage. You could have power outages out for a long time. And with the cold air spilling in behind this system, you don't want to be without power. I'm sure some communities will have warming stations. They'll probably need to do that. And if you have a generator, that's good. You might need it in that area. Meanwhile, the southern part of the storm, severe weather is likely today. An enhanced area of severe storms, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas. The slight risk gets into East Texas, more of Arkansas, more of Mississippi, and even the marginal risk gets you up into Tennessee and Alabama. And where will the tornadoes be? Because there will be tornadoes today. 10% risk where that enhanced risk of severe weather is. So right there, Louisiana, Mississippi into Arkansas, this could be pretty serious, and a 2% risk getting into East Texas, and more of Louisiana, more of Mississippi, more of Arkansas. So if you're in this area, head on a swivel and ways to get warnings just in case. It'll be a line of storms with embedded supercells, tornadoes, maybe some supercells out ahead of the line, with and maybe even a couple large tornadoes in this area. So do be aware of that. Meanwhile, 5 o'clock this morning, here are the temperatures. I mean, it's 10 below, or is that 19 below in Minot, North Dakota? And we're in the barely into the teens here. I guess 12's not technically not teens, but double digits barely. And you see the teens getting all the way into Kansas. That low is moving towards Missouri now. Behind it, that cold air is sinking south. And just now moving through Amarillo into the South Plains, and then in Texas. And we see that cold air stretching eastward as well. And it's kind of cold there, South Carolina, North Carolina as well this morning. 40s along the Pacific Northwest coastal areas, and anomalously wise, I'm making up words here. Anyways, compared to average this time of year, it's much below. Ohio River Valley, Mid-Atlantic, also parts of the plains all the way down into the central, now South Plains. And you can see where that cold front is. It's 5 degrees below average Amarillo, and it's above average Lubbock. So there's a cold front in there somewhere. Surface for today, that cold front charging southward on the east side of the Rockies behind the low, which is now the Oklahoma-Kansas border. The reason why we're not getting snow here in western Iowa is we're just too far away from the low, and we have dry cold air coming in from the north, and just the dry air is winning out. So no snow here, but when you get further south along the Iowa-Missouri border, they're going to get hammered heavy snow today. Freezing rain and ice in, say, southeast Kansas, that will persist, but changing to snow, I think it already has a little further north in central Kansas into Missouri and heading east. And then there you see the icy mess south of that, and there you see the severe weather possibilities south of that, and you see the heavy lake effect snow there in New York State. Tomorrow, this whole mess moves further east, same scenario. Heavy snow, big swath of that, and including Washington, D.C. Latest forecast expecting 10 inches. We'll see if that verifies. Freezing rain south of that, and we still see some lake effect snow off of the lakes, but maybe not as heavy tomorrow. Meanwhile, the system in the west, rain and snow in the west, and snow inland. Surface on Thursday. You can see that cold air has gone all the way through Florida behind this system. And now we have an upper level low moving into the Four Corners. So even in El Nino years, you can get rain and snow, where generally speaking, it's below average rain and snow and above average temperatures, and it's been hot. Phoenix and Tucson have had record highs in the 80s. Well, that's going to change as we get into Thursday. Looks like rain in the valleys, snow in the higher elevations, including southern Arizona and around the Four Corners as well. And then I want to talk about that system, because as that system heads east, and you can see the cold air is all the way through Texas, could we see a southern snowstorm late in the week, say Thursday, Friday? Well, the European is saying, yeah, a foot of snow east of Dallas, but even 8 to 10 in the Dallas area, back towards the northern South Plains, back towards eastern New Mexico. So, Lubbock, Texas, maybe 6 inches of snow on this map, according to the European, and that would move into Arkansas, into northern Mississippi, and Tennessee, with amounts 4 to 6 inches in those areas. But the GFS says not so fast. Maybe some snow for Dallas here on the GFS, but West Texas scattered, not so much. But greater amounts for Arkansas into, say, Memphis. And so, we're going to have to, I think there's going to be snow in the South. I think there's going to be snow in Texas. I think the models are starting to agree on that in principle. Exactly how that's going to play out is still a mystery, because they can't quite agree yet. But obviously that'll change as we get closer, or it should. Anyway, starting out 6 o'clock this morning on the GFS, here is your mess. Heavy snow in Kansas. And again, blizzard warnings are here, ice south of that. And as we go through the day today, that low continues eastward. The battle zone for the dry air along the southern Iowa border. So extreme southeastern Nebraska, some snow, and along the Iowa border with Missouri, but most of it's going to be south of Nebraska and Iowa, getting into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, ice. South of that, Kentucky, look out for lots of ice. Southern Illinois, southern Indiana. And then let me back up a little bit because I did want to show you this line of storms. And then meanwhile, this line of storms that we talked about with some severe and some tornadoes likely, especially into Mississippi, Louisiana. And then that system continues eastward. GFS has the snow totals dying out a little bit for the East Coast, so maybe not a foot of snow or 10 inches of snow for DC. We'll wait and see exactly how that goes, but it may be less than predicted initially. And you see that line of storm still going through the Carolinas, back through Georgia, and then the whole thing exits stage East Coast by Tuesday. This is Monday night at midnight, and then Tuesday. We do see this cold air in place. We see some snow here in Colorado. And again, this is the GFS, so not as bullish on the snow for Texas. But we start to see around the 8th. This is noon on the 8th, and in the afternoon on the 8th, little spotty snows here in West Texas. As we get into the 9th, we see a little bit of ice around Dallas, a little bit of light snow scattered around Oklahoma. And then we start to see some moisture moving up from the Gulf. It's mostly rain for central Texas, East Texas, with snow along the Red River and some ice in Arkansas as we get into Thursday night. On the backside of this low, we are seeing snow in Dallas and also through eastern Oklahoma, Tulsa to Oklahoma City and into Arkansas. And then that starts to move into Memphis, say early Friday morning, with snow in North Texas, rain, and lots of it for Louisiana. So that's the solution for the GFS. And this turns into quite a snowstorm for the Midwest, where they'll still have tons of snow on the ground, and some heavy snow maybe on top of the ice, and heavy snow down into Memphis too. Again, this is the GFS solution. The European is more bullish on Texas snow, and still has this Midwest snowstorm and moving into New England. This gets us into Saturday of next week. So that's our 7-day forecast. Maybe blizzard-like conditions along the East Coast early Sunday morning, moving through the day Sunday. So that's something else to watch as we get closer. Again, further out in time we get less certainty we have. So speaking of less certainty, further out in time, 8 to 14 day temperature outlook looks like maybe a break from the real deal cold. I'm not saying it's not going to be cold with above average temperatures in the northern plains, upper Midwest. You can still be above average and still be below freezing this time of year, but a little bit of a break. And then the coldest air south and east, and our best chance for above average precipitation, again, La Nina year, but this doesn't mean you don't get rain or snow in the south. And this is probably our best chance for it. And this is even beyond the possible snowstorm for Texas, which would be the 9th, 10th. This is 12th through the 18th. So we'll keep you posted as we go, of course. And, of course, the big story is the big storm in the Midwest moving towards the East Coast. Lots of storm chasers on all of that, and probably some storm chasers chasing those tornadoes today in Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas. So lots of weather to watch on the YouTubes today. I'm going to get ready for church. We'll update you again tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, the Weather Mike.